Hey, it's Mountain View Russ up in Mountain View, Arkansas. So I've been putting windows in today. I've got all four windows in the cargo trailer conversion. And I took a series of other videos talking about some issues I ran into and tips. And I'll attach them into this video. But I've got the sliders up front over the kitchen sink and the dinette, and then the egress windows in the back where the bed will be. It's been an all-day job working by myself. It wasn't impossible or difficult, but it was challenging at times. I mentioned in some of the other videos that, and it's my fault, but the screws that came with the windows and the trim rings were a little too short. And that's because I ended up getting my walls a little thicker than what these windows will handle. And so I've got screws temporarily, and there's some silver screws that I was able to get locally that were long enough. I went to good old Amazon and have ordered some black self-tapping screws. The front window, I filled all the holes in. The rest of these I just put enough to hold the window in. But I'll get them replaced whenever they come in next week. So anyway, windows are in. And next up, I'm going to bring the sink basin cabinet in and get them guys leveled and screwed to the wall. They'll be the foundation for everything else. Once they're set, then everything else can come off them. There'll be the cabinetry for the freshwater tank, the chest of drawers here, and ultimately the framework for the bed. So once those kitchen cabinets are in place, then I can build from there. I got to build a back wall, so there'll be a little garage about 1 foot deep, and then all the space under the bed. And I can also start construction on the bathroom wall now, because I wanted to wait till the kitchen cabinets were in. Once that wall's built, then there'll be a pantry in between this last cabinet and the bathroom wall. I also need to get it in so I can get the shower situated. Need that second wall to attach the shower to. It's two corners that it attaches to. So that's where we are today, Saturday. It's been an all-day job, but it's good to get it done. Thanks for watching. So guys, here's a moment of truth. Everybody that does one of these goes through the first cut. And I've done that on my first window and made a few mistakes, figured out some things to do. I made myself a Masonite template. All my windows are the same size. Put it up there, got it all squared and leveled and plumbed, and then marked it out, pre-masked the wall to keep from tearing that up. One thing I did find that I'll do on the rest of the windows is my beadboard along the edge. The saw blade just barely made it through the thickness. Probably use a bit longer saw blade if I had one. But anyway, if the blade were to catch the beadboard, it starts pushing it back and forth. And you may notice there's really no nails around the window. There's a couple here vertically, well, just 1, 2, and you can see where that blade got underneath and popped that out and broke it. So I'm gonna have to glue that back. Here's another piece that popped out. I'm gonna have to glue that back in place. Here I lost this one completely. And then over here, one staple in this whole length. So my lesson learned is once I mark the outside and take the template off, I'll bring it and put it on the inside. Just go ahead and drill my center pilot hole all the way through. Just gonna have to get a long enough bit. Bring it in here and level it up. use a pencil and mark it, and then run around with my air stapler and staple that paneling securely all the way around. There is wood underneath this right here. You can see there's wood on both sides. I've actually got foam board there, but there is wood back there. All of these metal beams have a piece of wood on top of them, a furring strip. So that's my lesson to future people doing the same approach I'm doing here, which is to sandwich everything and then cut it. Be sure and mark the window from the inside and just secure it with a lot of staples. I mean, your trim ring's going to cover it, number one. And number two, if it doesn't, I got to putty all these anyway. We'll see how this turns out. It'll probably be okay, but if it, for some reason it just doesn't look great, I may just build wooden trim pieces around the windows from the inside. Anyway, I'll add some more videos as I get the other windows in and once they're complete. Thanks. Okay, I'm back. Got the first window in. This is near the door. So one observation for those of you doing this and need a few tips: don't start with the most obvious window on your RV. This is the one that everybody's going to see the most, and I put it in first and learned while I was doing it. Made a few mistakes. I think they'll be okay, but I should have picked the most unobvious door or window. Anyhow, it looks good. I went ahead and put butyl tape behind it. I don't know if the manufacturer really required it, because this is a flexible it's kind of flexible, and then there's foam behind it, but that foam just didn't look real water resistance to me, so I put black butyl tape. Lesson number two: if you're using Polycore, you'll see right above the window where I was cleaning up the butyl with a putty knife, and I just pushed a little too hard, and you can see the color came off of the Polycore there. It is a very thin coating of aluminum and paint, I guess, on top of this poly. I guess it's some form of plastic. So the rest of the butyl that's sticking out, I'm leaving it be. I think I can roll it off with my finger or use a plastic putty knife. That's probably the lesson. You can also see here, you may notice right in the center, you see a little dent push out on the Polycore. And actually on the corners here too. I don't know if the light's right, but there's just a little dimple. And that's where I welded in. You can barely see it here. My framework, you can kind of see here a small crease. So I'm inside just pushing my metal framework in, trying to get it lined up on the inside, and it's pushing out the outside. And this stuff is, while it feels thick, it's very flexible and subject to bending. The other lesson, I got 2 1/4 inch windows. That's actually the widest. This is from Vintage Technologies. And I talked with Frank, and he helped me pick the right window. I think my walls probably just ended up being a little thicker than the windows I ordered. And so the actual, I don't know if it's going to be easy to see here, but there's the trim piece in here. And I ended up having a good 1/4 inch gap, along here. And the screws wouldn't really snug down. And it's Saturday. I sent Frank an email asking about it, but about maybe getting some longer screws. The screws that came with it are about a 1/2 inch long, self-tapping black screws, black tip screws, but they wouldn't quite reach to snug down the ring. So I went to the hardware store and bought some self-tapping 3/4 inch and self-tapping 1 inch screws, because it was inconsistent all the way around this. Some of them were almost snugged up the ring, and in some places it was, a half-inch gap. And it was just the construction, dimensional lumber isn't always exact. Anyhow, I used 3/4 inch self-tapping pan head screws to snug the ring up, and they seem to be good. Of course, they're silver, but I just wanted to get the window in. I had a hole in the trailer, so I had to get it in. But I did find some on Amazon, 3/4 inch black anodized self-tapping sheet metal screws. So they're on the way, and I'll just replace these. The window, the receiving end of the screw is threaded now, so I should just be able to back these out and pop the black ones in. So just want to give an update. This first window's in. I'm going to continue working on the other 3 windows. I won't do those one by one. When I get all done, I'll put a final video out. Thanks. So I've got my second window cut here. That's going in the rear, one of the egress windows. And here's an example of me just doing sloppy work, not paying attention. So these are 2 1/4 inch windows. And you'll notice where I put in this angle iron. So obviously this is 1 inch thick tubing that comes in the trailer. The angle iron is sticking over 1/4 inch. So this is 1 1/4 inch angle iron. I just happened to have this laying around, and I thought, well, gee, this would just make a good, good frame for this. And then I was putting 3/4 inch furring strips up with 1/4 inch behind it to make it 1 inch thick. So I got 1 inch and 1 inch for the foam. That's actually inside the wall beyond the window here. Notice this little gap here. I put the 1/4 inch behind this 3/4 inch, but it was already 1 1/4 inch wide. I could have just put this last furring strip and left this 1/4 inch spacer out. So now I've got to deal with my windows snugging into that. They're tight enough as it is, but now I've got to deal with that extra 1/4 inch. See, I got the same problem up here. One option would be to take the wall panel down and remove all this framing and take the spacer out from behind it, but I really don't want to do that. I've already ordered some longer screws to make up for this extra space. This is a polycore that'll suck in once the window goes in. But I've got the same issue here. So I'm basically 2 1/2 inch thick walls here when I had 2 1/4 inch windows. That's what happened on this one as well. And as I showed in the earlier video, I managed to suck it in, and I'm just going to end up with a gap here about 1/4 inch. In some spots it got a grip and it pulled it in, and it actually tilted this piece out a little bit. And it's not so bad that I'm gonna worry about it. It's pretty flat up here. It's kind of inconsistent, but I can certainly feel the gap here as I make the corner where it's not going to give. But longer screws. Now, like I said, I've ordered some black headed 1 inch self-tapping sheet metal screws. And I think what I'll do is just get me some black silicone and squirt it in this groove to kind of hide it. It really doesn't matter. It's just it'll collect dust and dirt down there. So anyway, just a little tip when it comes to your tolerances, particularly around the windows. Some of the framing for the bed and stuff, it's not that big a deal, but with these windows, it really needs to be accurate, or you're going to have to do what I'm doing and dealing with it not fitting right. All right, well, thanks. So here's a brief shot of how I'm handling the template. So I made myself a Masonite template. All my windows are the same size. 2 of them are egress, the other 2 are sliding windows, but they're the same size. Like I showed earlier, I have a screw in the center of the opening. Did that early on before the foam went up and all that. Once I framed the windows out, I put that screw right there through through the side of the trailer. And that allows me then to come back later after the walls are finished out, pull that screw and screw that template on dead center where I need the window to be. Then I just level it out. I'm just using the rain gutter at the top. I'm going under the basis of if it looks level, it is level. And once I get it leveled up, then I'll run these other 2 screws in above it to hold it still. Take a first pass and put it up there and just use pencil to outline where it is. And then I tape off, and then I take it down, put all the tape up, put the template back up, and now I'll mark that on the tape with a Sharpie. And I've got myself a pilot hole here. I'll drill a pilot hole to start my saber saw. And then I'll take the template down and I'll drill a hole all the way through that center bolt, all the way through the inside, and take the template inside and screw it into that hole as it passes through the center wall. Get it all level. And the reason I do that is so I can know where the framing is behind the window, and then I go around with my nail gun and hit it good with staples all the way around. It's going to be underneath the trim ring, but I found if you don't do that, the saber saw could catch it and start pushing the wall board loose. So it's good to just secure it down good, lots of staples.